I was halfway up the ladder, stringing LEDs across the gutter like I did every December, when I heard it, clear as day through the cracked kitchen window. Justine's voice. Sharp, fake sweet, like always. "I don't want to spend another Christmas with that loser." My hand paused midair, lights dangling like dead weight from my wrist. Then my mom, Doreen, chimed in, cool as ever. "We're already working on it. Once the renovation's done, everything goes to you." They both laughed. I just stood there, one boot balanced on a rung, the other pressing into cold aluminum. Couldn't move, could barely breathe. They were talking about me. I'd been out there since morning. Lights, wreaths, the whole winter wonderland set up. Inside, I had cookies in the oven and a prime rib marinating for Christmas dinner. Mom wanted the house perfect for the family, and guess who always made that happen? Me. My name's Aaron. I'm 38. I live in Springfield, Illinois, in the apartment above my workshop. Been a general contractor since I was 26. Built my own business from the ground up. 5 full crews now. But to them, I was just the little handyman. Through that open window, I heard Justine again. "He's like some sad single uncle in a Hallmark movie. You know he's gonna die alone in a garage full of power tools, right?" They howled. Even Mom. I gripped the ladder so hard my knuckles cracked. I'd paid for half the damn renovations on that house. Out of my own pocket. I bought the new kitchen appliances last year when the old ones died. I installed the floors, redid the bathrooms, painted every room. Twice. I thought maybe if I just kept showing up, if I made it nice enough, did enough, gave enough, maybe this year they'd finally see me. Guess not. Quick note. Before we get deeper into it, share which city or country you're watching from. I climbed down the ladder one step at a time, walked around to the back door, and let myself in like nothing happened. Smiled when Mom asked me to taste test the cookie dough. Played dumb when Justine said the tree looked surprisingly good this year. Didn't say a word, not yet. But I took a mental picture of that moment. How they stood by the oven, sipping wine, laughing like they already owned the place. Because when you spent your whole life building for people who treat you like trash, the first thing you learn to do is listen. The second, keep receipts. I wiped my hands on a dish towel and slid the prime rib into the fridge. Then I grabbed the decorations for the porch. I was still smoothing out the porch garland when the garage door rumbled open. Christmas Day, late morning. Dad rolled in first. Same stiff walk, same forced smile like he'd practiced it in the mirror. He handed me a bottle of scotch and muttered, "Merry Christmas, son," like it hurt his throat. 5 minutes later, Kyle's SUV pulled up. Justine stepped out first, done up like she was walking into a magazine shoot, not her in-laws' split level. Kyle followed, coat open, talking loud on the phone. Probably to remind us he had clients even on holidays. Inside, Mom was already humming "Let It Snow" while she checked the oven. You'd think the woman hadn't been planning to cut my legs out from under me just 2 days ago. She flashed me a tight smile. "Everything looks beautiful, Aaron." "Thanks," I said, and meant it sharp. They gathered around the living room, chatting over the fire I built myself back in October. Kyle poured himself a heavy glass of Dad's Glenlivet and zeroed in on me. "So," he said, swirling the glass, "you still running that little contractor thing?" I kept my face neutral. "Yeah, company's doing all right." He grinned like I just said, "I made birdhouses in my shed." "You should think about diversifying. Might be hard on your back in a few years." "I've got 5 crews," I said. "Don't do much lifting anymore." Right, he nodded, already tuning me out. Still, you never know. We moved to the dining room once everything was set. I brought out the roast, perfect crust, seasoned for 2 days. Carved it while Kyle and Justine chatted about their Maui vacation, like we hadn't just hit single digits outside. Mom floated from chair to chair with refills, complimenting Justine's earrings, calling Kyle her smart boy. Dad made some dry joke about the stock market, and I laughed like it didn't feel like sand in my mouth. I poured the wine. I smiled. I nodded when Justine said the centerpiece was shockingly tasteful. After dinner, I did the dishes while they lounged by the fire. Mom tried to help, but I waved her off. I needed her out of the kitchen. Once the coast was clear, I slipped into the study. Her laptop sat right where it always did. Charger plugged in, lid shut. I opened it, heart pounding, hands damp. Tried the name of her old mutt, Buttons. No luck. Then, Buttons, nothing. Third time, Buttons 2006. I was in. Inbox was a mess, but I knew what I was looking for. I searched Justine. Pages popped up. Emails going back a full year. I opened one titled Latest Update. There it was, a spreadsheet. Every project I'd done on the house. Dates, costs, even the appliance receipts. Looked like it was Justine's work. She was tracking everything I'd poured into this place like she was cataloging junk for a garage sale. Below that, Phase 2, transfer property once A is no longer involved. My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. Then I saw the name G, showed up in another folder labeled Personal. At first, I figured maybe a financial planner. I clicked one of the threads. Miss you so much. Dreaming about you last night. Martin doesn't even notice when I'm gone. Greg. I scrolled back. There were photos, flirty messages. Her telling him she'd finally have the house to herself soon. They'd been talking for years. I leaned back in the chair, the fan from the laptop humming loud. I could hear the others in the living room, laughing about something Dad said. Like everything was fine. Like they weren't all snakes wrapped in tinsel and fake smiles. I shut the laptop gently, put everything back the way it was. When I stepped out of the study, Justine caught my eye from the couch. You coming to do presents, Aaron? Be right there, I said. I walked down the hall, grabbed my coat, and stepped outside for air. The cold bit hard, but it cleared my head. Inside that house was a trap, a stage. And I wasn't the handyman anymore. I was the guy who just found the blueprints. I leaned over my workbench that night, hands braced on the edge, just staring at the rows of drivers and wrenches like they might have answers. But the only thing echoing in my head was her voice. Just wait a little longer. Wait for what? For me to finish the crown molding? Rewire the hallway? Put the last nail in before they handed my work over to Kyle like it was some housewarming gift? I didn't sleep. Not a minute. The next day I left early under the excuse of a supplier issue. Truth was, I headed straight to a law office downtown. My buddy Jake referred me to this guy. A no-bull divorce and property lawyer who looked like he lived off burnt coffee and Red Bulls. I laid it all out. Told him what I'd heard, what I'd done to the house, what I'd spent. Every bit of it. He didn't sugarcoat it. You're not on the deed. You've got no legal ownership, he said, tapping his pen against the desk. Technically, all that work, donations. I sat there, jaw locked. But, he said, if you can document it, every receipt, every message, any proof they intended to keep you around until the job was done, you might have leverage. Not to own it, but to punch back hard enough they'll wish they never crossed you. That was enough for me. I got to work the second I got home. I pulled out my file bin from under the workbench. Receipts for tile, fixtures, drywall, cabinets. I found the invoices for the appliances I ordered on my account. Photos of the renovations, bank transfers. I wasn't just collecting, I was building my own case file. Then I did something I never thought I'd do in my life. I bought 2 discrete voice recorders. One went under the edge of the kitchen table. The other, in the potted plant in the living room near the wine bar. I hated the idea of putting one in her bedroom, but after hearing her sweet talk some guy behind my dad's back while robbing me blind, I did it anyway. I wasn't taking chances. That night at dinner, everyone sat around like it was a normal Tuesday. Mom served lasagna. Kyle talked about interest rates like he was Bloomberg himself. I sipped my beer, bided my time. "So," I said casually, "who's Greg?" Her fork stopped halfway to her mouth. She blinked. Too fast. "Oh, Greg? Just a financial contact." She looked at Kyle. "I've mentioned him before, haven't I?" Kyle just shrugged and kept eating. Justine smirked into her wine. I smiled. "Cool. Just wondering." She disappeared early, said she had some paperwork to finish. I gave it 20 minutes, then walked down the hall and stood outside her door. Didn't move, just listened. Her voice was soft, like sugar. "Yes, I miss you too. No, it won't be long now. They're still clueless. Just wait a little longer." That was it. I walked out of the house, drove straight to my shop, and sat in the silence. Just me, the scent of cedar dust, and the ugly truth. For 2 straight weeks, I kept the mask on. I hung more lights along the back fence, fixed a loose banister Mom pretended not to notice, and even made the dumbass paper centerpieces Justine wanted for Kyle's birthday dinner. "Something clean but masculine," she said, like I was decorating a retirement party. "Sure," I told her, "whatever you need." At night, though, I was working. I wasn't just angry. I was methodical. I built a spreadsheet so tight you could bounce quarters off it. Every cent I'd ever poured into that house. 53s of 470. Separated by room, project, material, date. Linked it all to photo evidence, bank statements, receipts. Then I went through the recordings. Every second. One afternoon, I caught them on tape finalizing how they'd cut me out once the work was done. That was all I needed. I sat in my truck that night, replaying that moment over and over. My hands weren't even shaking anymore. I wasn't shocked. I was done. I uploaded everything, audio, photos, files, emails, to a cloud storage account with 2-step authentication. Gave access to my lawyer and my buddy Jake, just in case anything ever accidentally got deleted. Then I crafted the email. Subject line: Family Financial Discussion. January 8th, I wrote, "Since we're all involved in the house and future estate matters, I thought it would be smart to sit down and get on the same page. Nothing formal, just a talk over dinner. Let's plan it for Kyle's birthday night while we're all here." The replies came in like clockwork. Justine: "Sounds great. Long overdue." Mom: "Smart thinking. I'm glad you're being proactive." Kyle: "Sure, I'll bring the wine." Of course they said yes. They thought it was time to hand me my walking papers. I spent the next few days getting everything ready. Even bought a new button-down for the night. Dark blue, no stains, pressed. Boots cleaned, beard trimmed. They expected the handyman. I was showing up as something else entirely, and I didn't stop working. I added audio timestamps, organized the email threads by sender, had each file named clearly: living room, Deca 19 Justin Planoise, Mom Greg messages Berstauso 23 at PDF. All of it airtight, undeniable, and lined up for maximum damage. Meanwhile, I smiled through every chore. Justine asked me to patch a scuff on the entryway. "You've got the magic touch," she said. I smiled and nodded. Kyle joked one night that I should start offering event planning on top of renovations. I almost laughed. Almost. Mom played sweet and grateful. Said she didn't know what she'd do without me. I told her, "Guess we'll find out soon enough." She laughed. Thought it was cute. By the time Kyle's birthday rolled around, they were so sure of themselves, so smug in their little con, they didn't see it coming. They'd set the table for my exit. I was showing up with blueprints for demolition. The air that night felt too clean, still, like the whole house was holding its breath. I walked in wearing my best, dark jeans, polished boots, clean pressed button down, and a fresh shave. Even brought a bottle of red. Let them think I was showing up to celebrate. Mom had the table dressed like it was a wedding reception. Her old china, silver place cards, candles glowing. "Doesn't it look beautiful?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Almost perfect." Kyle was already 2 whiskeys deep, talking about a judge who'd quoted his closing argument in open court. Justine clung to him like a trophy, nodding at every punchline. Dad tossed out half-hearted jokes about inflation and estate tax, acting like he wasn't already a shadow in his own marriage. I poured drinks. I carved the steak. I let the lies roll around the table like gravy in a boat. When the dishes were cleared and Mom came out with a layered cake, I stood up, tapped my glass. "Before we cut the cake, I want to raise a toast," I said, loud enough for the whole room to pause. "To family, loyalty, and truth." The silence stretched a beat too long. Justine looked confused. Kyle squinted, glass halfway to his mouth. I pulled my tablet from my coat and walked over to the living room, connecting it to the smart TV. Screen came to life. "I've got something to share," I said. "Won't take long." First, I played the audio. That one recording from the kitchen, the laughing, the plan to cut me out once I finished the renovations. Justine's voice: "We're legally covered to cut him out." Mom: "Once this phase is done, he's out." Kyle: "No judge is siding with a glorified handyman." And then, laughter. It hit like a hammer in a glass house. "Where the hell did you get that?" Kyle asked, voice low, eyes narrowing. I didn't answer. Just brought up the spreadsheet next. The full breakdown, projects, receipts, costs, 53,470. My money, my time, my sweat. I could see Dad stiffen. "Every dollar," I said. "Every upgrade, every repair, documented." Justine was fuming. "This is a violation." "You want to talk violations?" I cut her off. "How about fraud, misrepresentation, asset concealment?" Then I opened the folder labeled Greg, clicked one of the message threads. The screen filled with flirty emails, vacation selfies, talk of someday soon. I turned toward my father. "That's Greg Winston, right? Your old college roommate?" His face dropped. "The guy you used to invest with? Mom's been seeing him for years." He didn't say a word. He stood slowly, eyes on Doreen. His hand started to shake. "Is this true, Doreen?" She choked on air. Her voice broke. I was lonely. You never saw me anymore. He slammed both fists down on the table. Crystal rattled. "You stole from our son. You stole from me? For him?" She tried to reach for him. He stepped back like her hand was fire. Then he exploded. Swept the table with both arms. Plates, wine glasses, cake. Everything crashed to the floor. The china shattered like bones. Kyle jumped up and pulled Justine back. "All right," I said, calm as ever. "Let's wrap this up." I reached into my pocket, pulled out a small stack of papers, and tossed them on the floor in front of Mom. "I've already filed asset recovery claims with my lawyer. Every dollar I put into this house is being pursued. And I've filed legal notice of separation, financial, personal, emotional. I'm out." Kyle stepped forward. "You don't have any legal rights." I turned to him. "You should know better than anyone, Kyle. Legal's got nothing to do with moral. But if you want to test me in court, I'll see you there." Mom dropped to her knees, fumbling to collect the papers. "Aaron, please." I pointed to the door. "Party's over." They just stared at me, shocked, broken, speechless. I walked out. Cold air hit my face like a slap, but I felt lighter than I had in years, and I didn't look back. The next morning, I pulled into the driveway just after 7. The sky was still gray, streets quiet. Not one curtain in the house moved as I walked up the steps. I let myself in without knocking, same way I had for years. Everything inside was still trashed, glass under the table, dried wine on the rug, the cake smeared across a folded chair. No one said a word, no one showed their face. I went straight to the garage, loaded my toolbox first, then the folders, receipts, invoices, inspection reports. I'd already signed a lease on a place 10 minutes from my office. Top floor, lake view, real light in the mornings. No ghosts. Before I left, I walked into the workshop one last time, ran my hand along the bench I built from reclaimed pine. Solid, clean, not 1 inch of it crooked. I set the spare key down in the center and walked out. First day was quiet. Then the texts started. Mom came in hot, blame, screaming in all caps. You destroyed this family, after everything I did for you. Then came the guilt. You know your father never loved me. I needed someone. Then the desperation. Greg dumped me. Please, I need someone. I replied once. All communication goes through my lawyer. Then I blocked her. Kyle was next. His tone was pure PR. Damage control. Justine and I feel awful about how things played out. Maybe we can help with the legal stuff? I forwarded it straight to my attorney, had restraining orders filed against both of them the next day. Didn't flinch. About a week later, my lawyer called. Your dad's reached out, he said. Wants you to know he's rewriting his will, cutting out your mother and Kyle completely. Says it's time to fix things. I didn't ask for that. Never mentioned it. But I didn't argue either. Justice is funny like that. Sometimes it comes late, but when it shows up, it swings hard. I went back to work like normal. My guys noticed I was quieter, more focused. No one asked. They didn't need to. At night, I sat on my condo balcony, looked out over the lake, and listened to the quiet. No footsteps above me, no fake compliments. No one asking me to fix one more thing before dinner. Just peace. 3 months later, I was sitting cross-legged on the hardwood floor of my new place, pencil behind my ear, measuring tape stretched across the wall. It wasn't fancy. Just a 2-bedroom condo above a quiet stretch of storefronts near the lake. But it was mine. Fresh drywall, quiet neighbors, sunlight that poured in like it belonged there. The office was set up clean, nothing flashy, just my drafting table, a small desk for invoices, and my tools stacked neatly in the corner. Every screw and socket had its place. Nights, I stayed late by choice, sketched new builds, hands in sawdust again, brain clear, no whispers through cracked windows, no second-guessing every step I took. Just wood, tools, and silence. Dad started meeting me once a month for lunch. First time he showed up at my shop with 2 pastrami sandwiches and a 6-pack of root beer like we were back in high school. He didn't say anything about the past, neither did I. We just sat in the back talking shop. Lumber prices, shop classes, old tools we missed. He told me he sold the house. Moved to a smaller town, about an hour out. Said he started teaching again. Woodworking at the local community college. Said he felt free for the first time in 40 years. We didn't act like best friends. We didn't pretend to be something we weren't. But we listened to each other. There was respect. That was enough. One afternoon, I was sketching up plans for a set of built-ins I'd been putting off. Custom job, clean lines, deep walnut. Sunlight stretched across the floor, warm and steady. I had the tape measure in one hand, the pencil marking studs, when I heard someone behind me. Hey, a voice said. You building something? I turned. It was the older guy from 2 units down. I'd seen him around but never talked much. Yeah, I said, brushing sawdust off my jeans. Built-ins, maybe a window seat. He nodded, looked around the room. You just move in? Few months ago. He smiled. Looks like it's coming together. I looked back at the wall, pencil still in hand. Yeah, finally is. He started to turn away but paused. What are you building again? I looked him in the eye and said it straight. A clean start. And I meant every word. What would you have done if your own mother tried to erase you from your childhood home? Tell us in the comments, don't hold back. And if you're still listening, hit that like and subscribe button for more.